Welcome to Milk and Mummies podcast. This podcast was created simply because I found myself happily pregnant and self-employed and wondering, how was I going to juggle it all? Get comfy as we talk all things motherhood, working for yourself and finding that elusive balance, honestly. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Do you mind telling us who you are? What do you do? And like who are you? Why are you here? Oh my God.
My name is Eliza Williams, and I am an actor and a writer. And I am currently working on some theatre stuff and some TV stuff.
Yeah, just some stuff.
And just, doing lots of stuff.
Just being awesome and doing stuff.
Just
Guys,
some
like,
stuff.
what, I guess, I was going to say what Eliza isn't telling you, but then I don't know why you would just casually say this. It's just how awesome you are. Like, watching Eliza work is, honestly, so I was thinking this the other day and I forgot to tell you. You were working on the script and it was you and the other actor's name who's I've completely forgotten, but it was the scene where you guys were talking about a window. Or looking out the window and the moon, and it just totally drew me in. It was just you and a script, another person in a space where we're all rehearsing and workshopping stuff, and I just fully was transported to where you guys were fully involved, like just casual, just casually being awesome. So that's Eliza, basically, actor, writer, awesomeness, and now she's here to talk about motherhood and how she's managed to juggle that whilst being a creative and all that stuff. I like to say that I've just completed level 1, so my little one's 1 year of age. I feel very happy and proud of myself, but just like taking us back, obviously you're a mother of 3.
3, yeah.
With what you know motherhood to be, thinking about before it all started, is motherhood anywhere near what you thought it was gonna be? Because you may have family or your mom or your aunties or female friends or whoever talk about, oh, have kids or do this, do that. Like, is this anything like what you thought it was going to be?
I think. So we're taking it back.
I know.
Because mine are considerably older than one. Yeah. So I was quite quick off the mark on the old, in terms of arriving in adulthood.
Okay.
Finding my feet. And then having kids.
Yeah.
It was, I think I had a slightly more romantic notion of what having children was.
And what does that
mean?
mean?
I think I saw a kind of picturesque, all abiding by me kind of, cute, and a kind of like picture perfect, picture book fairy tale of what having kids
would be
was going to be like.
Yeah, okay.
And I was really, I don't really. I always wanted to have kids.
Okay.
So I jumping on in there sort of maybe sooner than even I thought I was going to do it. I kind of had this lifelong almost ambition to go, I can't wait to be a mummy. I really want to be a mummy. I love kids. So, it was...
I get that.
So I had that kind of thing going on, but I don't think I ever really gave the actual, I've got to give birth bit much thought.
You knew you wanted to be a mom. It was going to happen.
And isn't that wild? Because I think that's crazy. Because I just think, how did I miss that whole bit out in my brain?
But that's how it's often spoken to you about. It's like, have kids. Especially if you come from a space where maybe there's that constant conversation or pressure that's on you. You might have kids, and you might know you want to be a mum. But I don't actually know anyone who kind of really stops and thinks about the birthing side of it all. Not really.
Yeah, maybe not.
So
maybe that's like fair. A built-in defense mechanism.
Yeah, maybe. They'll get here. Just have them. No, but it does make sense.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I love being a mum.
Yeah.
I've always really thoroughly enjoyed being a mum. I've never at any point thought, why did I become a mum? And that's honest. That's the honest truth. That's not a sort of rose-tinted glasses. I really felt that through all of the, the trials and tribulations. I didn't ever think, what did I do this for? I just thought, wow, I was a dreamer. Ooh, you made some dreams for yourself. Wow.
No, I love that. Okay, yeah. I love it. Did you have anyone in your family who was quite vocal on have kids, or like you should be doing this?
My mum came from a big family, talked a lot about her family. Her siblings meant a lot to her, mean a lot to her. And it was kind of, I always had this sort of notion of it being just such a wonderful thing. I'm one of 4. I'm very close to my siblings. Even though we're far apart in age, we've really got a great relationship. And I think for me, it all felt like just a super positive thing.
Yeah.
I definitely thought, I'm laughing at my younger self. I definitely thought I should give her more respect because she really owned it.
She did it. She went in, I'm doing this. She did it.
Yeah, she absolutely
did it. And here you
are
now.
So she, me, was like, oh, yeah, I'd really love to have a baby.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately enough, I was with someone who also was really up for having a baby.
Amazing.
I mean, this was convenient.
Boom.
And I thought, I'll have this baby now. I was 25, so it didn't even occur to me this could be difficult or this could be hard. It took me a while to really fully appreciate that, actually, because I think how fortunate I was that I went, I would like to have a baby, and I had one. I don't, for 1 second, ever not feel gratitude and thankful for that. And so I had my first child when I was 25, and he came along, and I was like, right, well then I think I'll have other babies, but like when I'm way older.
Okay.
I was convinced that was absolutely what I'd do, right?
Mm-hmm. And
but
then life.
Then I was like, I was in this, it wasn't an NCT group, but it was like, it was like a budget version, I didn't have any money. I couldn't join those kind of things. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to go to this group that's been set up by a health visitor. And I remember a lot of the mums were actually part of an NCT group, but I was kind of like, do you just want to come to my house like every other week? Like, do you want to should we just all meet up anyway?
Nice.
Because I was thinking, I'm still getting all these people who are like having babies. And I did initially think, I've got loads of mates. I don't need loads of people who have had babies around me necessarily.
Yeah.
Learned that, of course, I did.
Yeah.
It was really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were pushing on having babies quite close together. And I was just like, oh, right. Well, maybe that's a good idea. So that, and again, very fortunately, that's, I did. I had them quite quickly, after each other. Yeah. So I had my first child, and then sort of 22 months later, I had my daughter, and then my third child came along like 19 months after that.
Wow.
And
bam, bam, bam.
I was like, bam, bam, bam. Oh, wait.
Me.
Oh, God. God, that was so fun. Oh, no, they're here forever.
Forever, never. No, what I like about what you shared is realizing that, oh wait, I actually do need to have a network of moms around me or support around me. That's amazing how instinctively that kind of came to you, and you knew that it needed to be created. And because with me sitting in this space, it's so important. I didn't think I needed that at all. I was very much, you know what? No, I've already got my friends. I don't need to make any more new friends. It's fine. If we have kids, we have kids, and we can just figure that out. But the conversations that I have with my friends who are mums, or even the new ones that I've met along this journey, is so valuable and instrumental and very different to what I would have with my friends who don't have kids.
Yeah.
So it is really important having that network and that bubble around you, for sure. So that's really cool that just came to you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really, I do. I think you're right about that. I think it's instinct, isn't it? You go, I didn't really know. Like, I didn't go to like prep classes or anything.
Yeah.
I was really like a bit, I don't know if I was, maybe it was a bit of naivety, but I think sometimes ignorance is a bit of bliss, isn't it? And I sort of I kind of just went, oh, it's fine. Like, people have had babies forever. Like, why
Which
can't
is
I
also
just have
true.
a baby? So I'll just, but I did, you know, to have that, bunch of people around you, going through similar things, feeling the same. I think it's the feeling.
Yeah.
The feelings that you want to chat about, how you're feeling about stuff, and practically, like, how you juggle stuff. Like, it's to share tips on that was great. That was nice.
I know you said you were 25 at the time. What were you doing at that time, work-wise?
So, I had graduated from drama school.
Yeah.
And I had been just like a jobbing actor.
Yeah.
And not tons of stuff was coming my way. I think probably things were hotting up, actually. Okay. Well, look, I'm going to say it probably was hotting up. Because who's to question that it wasn't? Yeah, it definitely was. Some really big things.
And that's just what it was.
And but you know, I think I came out of drama school. Do you know, I think I came out of drama school and I felt really scared.
Oh, yeah?
I felt quite scared. I felt like I didn't feel hugely prepared.
Okay.
For, like... Well, I didn't feel hugely prepared to put myself out there. And, you know, say that thing, don't they? No one's going to come knocking at your door and be like, hey, excuse me, Eliza, would you like to come and audition for the TV show? You know, it just doesn't happen at all, ever. And I think perhaps I wasn't fully mentally prepared for leaving drama school. And that, you know, I take responsibility for that, you know. But I left and I went out and I worked. I mean, God, I did everything. I did supply taught, I did care work, I did everything, you know, it's like in between. I did loads of things. And I'd have the odd singing gig, and I'd just be doing as much as I could. Yeah. But I wasn't hugely established in my career. I sort of wasn't established in any work life. It was like I was working in a way that was so ad hoc that when I did actually have my first child, I think I was probably in a relatively... Well, I suppose it's always a unique situation, particularly when you're self-employed.
Yes, that's
that
very
you go,
true.
well, there's times when I haven't got much work anyway, so maybe this is fine. But you don't get that kind of structure that, you know, when people take maternity leave and it's all sort of official, and then you're going back at this point, you're going back. That to me was really alien. I didn't know if I didn't know if sometimes I envied that. Maybe I didn't necessarily want that, but I kind of would think, oh gosh, like that's interesting. So now I'm gonna look after this baby. Yeah. And I'm gonna call when I can take a job or I can't take a job, and that's a wonderful feeling to have that control. But it's also really daunting. I think at the start.
I don't even know what I even really thought. I had my little one. I think my first job after baby arrived was maybe 2 and a bit weeks later. And I don't even think I'd really processed what that was, because when I look back at that time, I was like, Rach, you were half asleep the whole time. I remember I had a Zoom call one time and I said to them, oh guys, I just put the baby down, whatever else. But I was like, wait, am I falling asleep in the Zoom call? I was falling asleep a lot, and it was a video. The video was on. Yeah. So we're all engaged in dialogue, and I felt myself nodding off, and I felt myself fighting really hard to speak. So I'm like, Rach, you're definitely slurring your words. I don't know if you're making sense right now, but I was powering through. And I was thinking, I wonder what they were thinking, watching me literally half asleep whilst trying to have a conversation. So,
or if they even noticed, actually. Right.
I pray to God they didn't.
They might not even have noticed.
I think they may have done. It's really bad. I was like, I can't believe I just did that. I'm going to get paid for that. I did get paid for that. But I was like, that's insane. So yeah, it's a strange space where you don't have things, that kind of structure, as you said, like maternity leave or whatever else. So you have to just work through, if that's what you choose to do, or just navigate that whole thing in the best way that you can. So it's that, weird.
Yeah, it is
amazing, but also really weird.
Yeah, it's. I remember having my first baby, and we got home, and the first day that my husband went back to work, and
of course.
And I remember just sitting there in our flat and looking in the Moses basket thing, and just going, oh, like I saw this sort of ripple effect. I felt so happy, but also overwhelmed by this sort of, you know, oh, you've made people aunties and uncles and grandparents and cousins. And I suddenly saw how this tiny little thing had been sort of hurled into my world, and the impact that had, like, on, I guess, me and, everyone around me.
Yeah.
I remember feeling that. Really, I can feel that right now. Like, you know, you can actually, I can feel it right now, that feeling. It was so vivid to me, and I can see his little face, and I can feel myself thinking that exact thought.
Oh my gosh.
And he's 19 now.
I was just about to say, like, he's a man now.
He's a man.
He's a man now. But again, you can just be transported right back to that moment of just like.
Because I don't think it ever, that's the thing. I mean, yes, my kids are 19, 17 and 15.
Yeah.
But you know, I respect them as young adults, and, you know, they're brilliant young adults. So I don't like to think I baby them at all. I think they've got a lot of independence, and we have a great relationship. I'm very fortunate. Yeah. But I still look at those faces and go, that in there, that is my baby. And I guess that's the thing about motherhood. You never ever leaves you. And I guess it suddenly makes sense as to why, you know, my mum will be like, you know, do you need some milk? And I'm like, I'm all right, because I go to the shops and stuff. But then, of course, there's the days and you go, yeah, actually, I do really need some milk. Yes, please, actually. I would like you to bring some milk round for that cup of tea.
It is crazy. Like, the word I'm still using is surreal. It's just incredible how many surreal moments just pop up. And
you're at such a beautiful time, because it's
crazy.
It's so wild. That first year is so insane. There's so many firsts, and it flies. Like those first few days are feeling like you're moving through some kind of weird alternative universe for a while, like there's some sort of otherworldly state, and then it goes from slow-mo into
literally. I always say I used to complain throughout my pregnancy just at the length of it all, understanding that every single day is necessary for the bun to be cooked in said oven.
Absolutely,
it's necessary. I'm not the most patient person. I'm having to learn patience. I'm always having to learn about patience, to be fair, but I felt every single day, like every day, oh my god, it was. I loved my pregnancy, to be honest with you, but I felt it. But now that baby's here, it's like it can't be going any faster, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, can it slow down? Or there are definitely moments that I really want to relive, which is crazy, because like she just got here, like it's only year one, but I'm like, oh no, I just really want to go back then so I can pay even more attention to X, Y, and Z. So surreal is the word that I find that I use all the time when I'm trying to just describe this whole journey and how it's been and all that kind of stuff. It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
Oh my gosh. Did you know you always wanted to be a mum? I think you said you did, right?
Yeah, I did. I did always. I always wanted to be an actor, and I always wanted to be a mum. And I used to dream of kind of reading scripts and maybe writing a bit, but I don't know if that was really in my head when I was a kid. But I used to imagine, like as a young teen, like I remember, thinking, I'd love to be sitting in a kitchen with my kids around me reading a script.
That's amazing. That's so specific and so
clear.
It's
so specific. And I suppose I don't know why I had such this sort of just burning desire. But it was there. And it's not the coolest thing to talk about when you're in your teens. Like, so I remember sort of being like, you know, kind of like, I could take it or leave it. Like, you know, like, it was quite a burning desire for me.
That's incredible.
I don't know what that necessarily. I don't quite know where that came from, other than maybe just that I obviously had I had a fortunate sort of. I was very well loved and cared for as a child, and I think, I don't know, maybe I wanted to replicate that family bubble a bit for myself. I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, I think there's a sort of there's some sort of there's a bit of a selfish desire in that as well, like a kind of, you know, I came out of drama school. I found it harder than I thought I was going to find it.
Yeah.
And I do think I took real kind of like, it became like I was in this little, you know, secret world where I just, well, I'm sorry, I've got to look after my baby. You know, it kind of sort of protected me. I felt like somehow I built a bit of a little fortress around myself and then my little children, because, and it brought me, perhaps that sort of brought me a security and a comfort that I think, I actually think in retrospect, looking back now, I think there was an element of that in that for me, which, I don't know how common that is, if at all. But you know, I don't know. I need to speak to my therapist about that. But
I'll find out.
That's a whole other. That's a whole other episode.
Oh my God.
But it is interesting because I think as well. It's great to talk about. It's great to talk about these things, like particularly when you've had a bit of time for things to really digest and for you to look back on how you felt about things. I think I'm more honest now about how I felt when I had children than I was when I was in the thick of having little children.
Yeah. Why is that? Did you feel like you could be as honest? Or was it
maybe I didn't quite know in myself. Maybe I just know myself better now.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm considerably older and I've lived longer, and just that, you know, just literally the sheer life experience of it that I go back and I can kind of assess a little bit more what was going on with me then. Yeah. But also, I don't know. I think just generally is we're sort of, I do think we're a little bit conditioned to have to say, this is great.
This is great. Everybody should do it.
I'm really, and because you are thankful, this is the thing, you're not thankful. Yeah. I think when it's hard, it's getting increasingly easier for everyone to talk about that now. But I do actually think perhaps, you know, we're talking about nearly 20 years ago. Yeah. And it wasn't actually, people weren't actually talking about everything in as many open terms like back then. As we do now, exactly. And it's weird because I'm saying back then, but it's true, you know. Thank God we are chatting more.
But it's true. I guess you wouldn't talk about how you were really feeling. You roll your sleeves up, you get on with it, you get it done. I know nowadays we talk about mental health all the time, but it wasn't something that was discussed. Really, you didn't really talk about that kind of stuff. Not really.
And so I mean, I don't think I thought it was acceptable to sort of say, you know, even if I sort of clocked it somewhere deep in my heart, I'd be like, maybe you guys are just here to sort of bolster me. I do feel a little bit like, you know, I mean, having my kids has made me a far better person. Like, way...
That's amazing to say.
Superior being that I would have been. Otherwise, because they're looking at me all the time. Yeah. And I want them to think that you know, I'm doing the right thing or that I'm working really hard or that I'm... So it kind of... I realised that those little eyes on me suddenly went from me going, it's all right, guys, this is so nice. Look at you, you're so cute. And God, they were so cute. But, like, to just... then be
they're holding you accountable
whoa,
for stuff,
hold on a second, I've really got to get my stuff together here. And I need to know exactly what I'm doing. I've got to stop feeling scared about that, and I've got to own this and I've got to own that. And they made me do that. Yeah. So it was kind of
that's like, incredible.
And I really mean that. And they sort of continue to do that for me, actually. So I, you know, yes, of course, I'm a separate entity from my children, as much as any mother ever is.
Right,
but it's definitely, I feel like the whole motherhood thing was a bit collaborative with them.
That's a nice way to hear it described, actually. I don't think I've ever heard it described as that. But with what you've just said as the example, of course, it makes perfect sense. Like they're looking at you to teach them, to show them, to lead them and guide them through stuff. We learn a heck of a lot from our parents' actions, what they do and don't do, what they say and they don't say. Because we hear the words that they don't communicate and think we're not picking up on. We do. Yeah. So we are looking to our parents in a certain way. And if your parent is open enough, intuitive enough, etc., to kind of really receive that, then they understand what they need to be feeding into you. And I see how it becomes collaborative. I'd never thought to frame it that way. I'd never thought to describe it that way at all. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I guess that's come from the age my kids are at now. Yeah. Like, because we can have two-way conversations.
Yeah,
and,
I get it.
It's that probably has just occurred to me, actually.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, my background, my background is, oh my gosh, English, struggling. I'm about to say my background is Ghanaian. That makes it worse. Can't speak English. Jesus. That's my background. But like, typically you wouldn't, this is a conversation that I think I'm even going to pick up and speak to my mum about, but I wonder if she ever saw it that way, because culturally it's not really like that. Mum and dad, the family's created, mum looks after the kids, you do X, Y, and Z. You don't really talk back to, or you're raised not to speak back to your parents so much, or you understand what the status quo is. It's not even a status quo, it just is, and you get on with certain things. So I wonder if she ever had moments where she would think about things in this way. I almost feel not, because my mum is very much someone who's on the go all the time, has zero filter, is unbelievably rude and ridiculous, like absolutely wonderful. But I wonder if she ever had these moments where it's the reality or the surrealness of having kids, or what that responsibility is like, or if it was the case of she's doing what she's supposed to do, that the kids are here, the family's there, okay, let me run the home, let me look after my marriage, let me look after this. I just wonder I wondered if she ever had these moments of, even if it's just little quiet moments of realizations of stuff. I almost feel like probably not, because it doesn't, with however my mum talks about stuff, it never seemed like there was time. Not really. So this has just really struck a chord with me.
Maybe, I think I think that, and I do think, motherhood sparks that conversation with your own mother about a lot of things. Definitely. I definitely have had more conversations with my mum, even in recent years, you know, like about how she felt about certain things, and how that sort of shaped where she was at in her life in that moment. It's really interesting.
Yeah, sure. It's funny that the only conversation my mum is having me right now is, when is the next one coming? I'm like, Mum, my mum, it's not even bothered. Oh, when my kid hits 6 months, when are you going again? She's 6 months now. Why are you not trying again? I'm like, can I just like breathe? Like, I'm just about getting back into the regularity of having sex, or being able to sleep, or being able to do this. Now I'm meant to be getting the next one on the way. She's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, but I mean, what? Yeah. But then that's my mum. Once hilarious. I think once I finished uni, she was like, okay, when you get married, having kids. That's my mum has been like, grandchildren, let's go.
Okay.
And she's a mum of 5 kids, and my daughter makes grandchild number 2, so she's obviously failed at life, and it's like, I can't believe I've only got 2 grandkids, and
that's really
oh my gosh, and it's like, woman, do you know what we're going through right now? So it's again crazy, because when my mom was my age, I think she would have had all 5 kids by now.
Wow.
And I'm like,
a lot of kids.
Go! I didn't even know how you juggled that. I didn't even know how your body did all of those things. So it's like, when I have those moments or those comparisons, I'm like, A, this is insanity, or B, women are phenomenal to be able to do these things and still get up and go forth and prosper. And it's like, baby number 2 already? She's just hit what space is she living in, or what?
Yeah.
Anyway, I can go on about my mum for ages.
Yeah, it's really funny, and how that kind of touches us in a way that no one else touches us. Like, when your mum says something to you, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, you're either triggered, or you're sparked for a fight, or it's something that is like, oh my goodness, it's like no other relationship, is it? And I mean, you know, whether you have a relationship with your mother or you do not, like there's plenty of people that don't, or they have all different types of relationship, of course.
Yep.
And with people who just acted as a mother to them or guided them, there's still these things, because they have been so they've been so influential in your life.
That's the word.
Whatever they did, whatever they didn't do, does shape us. And then, like, you know, we can't help but be ever so slightly, like, sort of wanting to hear what they have to say and then being angry if it's not what we want to hear.
That's true. Very true.
And also thinking, stop putting it on me. Stop putting it on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was your journey through motherhood like? Do you remember, maybe journey through your pregnancy into motherhood, perhaps? Like things like your symptoms, your issues, or what was particularly difficult or not?
So my first pregnancy, I had been at a point of my life where I was really, really in the gym a lot, very, very sort of body image aware, probably to the point where it probably wasn't particularly healthy.
Okay.
If I'm, again, like reflecting on who I was in my 20s. And, oh boy, when I got pregnant with my first child, I got huge. Now, I think it's just that I do big pregnancies, but also I was like, I probably should eat everything, yeah?
Okay.
Should I just eat everything? I probably will just eat everything. And I went into this crazy space of just going, woohoo! I felt a bit sick at the beginning, but only a little bit. And then I was just like, I can get through this as long as I have a lot of sandwiches.
Okay.
Like, I just convinced myself that it was all going to drop off, right, as well. Because that was a big thing for me. The whole getting bigger thing was a big thing for me. I actually had quite a nice time. Like, I don't think I didn't struggle tremendously.
Yeah.
I was very lucky, I think. So my resounding thought about it is this sort of, I just remember going, ooh, I'm gonna really enjoy everything. I'm gonna enjoy every minute, but I'm really impatient as well.
There we go.
So I had this book, and every day I'd be like, where are we at now? Where are we at now? Oh, it's only going in weeks.
Yeah.
I want it to go in days.
Yeah,
Can it not go in half days? Like, what's happened now? A toenail has grown. You know, like, I was really invested. But I you know, I signed with a pregnancy agency.
Did you?
With a pregnancy agency.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did a little tiny bit of pregnancy work, but because this
I didn't even know that existed.
So I don't know if it still exists. I'm not mentioning any names. Right?
Okay.
So
we want the tea. Well, okay.
So I forgot. This is really gold. So I remember. So my headshot was of me before I'd had a baby growing inside.
Okay, got it.
So the expectation, well, one would maybe imagine that you'd expect someone's face to have slightly altered, what with making a whole human.
Yes, that's fair. Fair expectation.
Totally fair.
Yep.
But I had this this headshot that when I went in, I'd sent it all ahead, and the person in question was like, yeah, come in, we want to meet you.
Great.
Like, we'd like you to do a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of modelling work, a little bit of this. I was like, oh my God,
amazing.
This is great. This is opening up avenues I never even knew that anyone would ever consider me for.
Fantastic.
And off I went to meet this person. It was quite far away. I remember it was a bit of a schlep.
Okay.
And I got there. It was a really hot day.
Got it. Pregnant, hot day.
Hot day. I got there, and I swear to God, she looked me up and down and went, you don't look anything like your picture anymore, darling. And I was just like, no, that's because I'm pregnant. I was proper shocked. Like, you know, when you go, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're being mean to me. This is awful. Like, I'm going to come for you or I'm going to cry. Either way, I don't know what to do. I was so shocked because I was in such a sort of little happy place. Like, she really burst my bubble.
Of course, how dare you?
And what an outrageous thing to do and
say.
Yeah,
it is.
Like,
really.
God, that's mad. Like, honestly, I mean, she's lucky old me didn't go back and lamp her, but so I wouldn't lamp anyone, of course, but you know, metaphorically.
That's what I may have been feeling inside.
But yeah, so I sat there the whole time thinking, Oh my God. So I did get put up for some stuff and I did get the odd bit and bob. But it was, because she wasn't really on my side. I didn't feel like she was on my side at all. It was really difficult. And I remember when I was sat there, she was having a conversation with a client. She was like, sorry, can I just take this? And I was like, yeah. Of course, go ahead. Like thinking, I need some thinking time. Like, do I leave? And she takes this call, and she's on the phone, and she's like, okay, so because she also represented babies.
Okay, love it.
Cruella de Vil representing babies
and pregnant women, and
so she's like, hey, hi, sorry, hey Claire, do you quick question. Does Lola's got the gig, but does Lola, like Lola's like a baby, does Lola eat banana? Yeah, like stupid question, but does she? And I could hear the mum on the other end of the phone go, oh gosh, no, she doesn't actually. And this agent went, what baby doesn't eat bananas? She's like, well, my baby just doesn't like them. I know, like I thought babies were meant to like bananas, but I mashed them up and no, she just doesn't like them.
Yes, agent doesn't care.
And she hung up on her. And I was like, this is wild. I mean, I knew that this was also ridiculously funny because it was so awful. Mm-hmm. So there was some comedy value in this.
Of course, the agent who's representing
this is crazy.
And mums.
You are the Wicked Witch of the West.
Managing new life.
And you are taking on these
bubbles.
Very fragile people with the most beautiful thing they've ever seen. Querying their taste buds.
How dare they for this job?
It was wild, crazy. So after all of that nonsense and fun and games, you know, I had but medically I was all right. After I had my first baby, my placenta didn't come out by itself.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it's called placenta previa. Is it called placenta previa when it hangs on? I can't remember the name of it.
I don't know. I can do a quick Google.
Google it. It stays. It decides it likes it so much because it's meant to be like, like a stamp around the edge. It's all perforated and it just tears away very easily. This is a bit gross. It's suddenly taken a turn. It came. So, you know, the actual birth, I think it probably took about a day to have my first baby. Might have been like maybe a day and a bit, but he was pretty much on time, not tremendously over, maybe a day or two. Mm-hmm. And then the whole placenta thing happened.
Placenta previa, a condition in which the placenta partially or wholly blocks the neck of the uterus.
Oh no, it's not that then. That's not it. No, it wasn't in the way.
That was actually the first thing
it was just stuck. Yeah. I just said the word previa. I think I've just said a word.
But it was the right
is wrong.
word.
So it sticks and it stays. It's like you retain it. Placenta retention.
Yeah, placenta retention. It might just be that.
Placenta reteniosus. But it was obviously the way my body worked because then my second pregnancy, oh boy, was I sick. My little girl made me very sick. Okay. So I have boy, girl, boy.
Which is a nice little combo.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's working out a treat.
Do you know what? Placenta, I can't pronounce this. Placenta accreta. Oh my gosh, my English is bad today. Jesus.
I think this is just medical terminology that is.
It is. Placenta accreta occurs when the placenta grows into the uterine wall during pregnancy. In saying that, placenta sticks or stays did pop up, so I'm going to stay with placenta retained.
Yeah.
Right, retained placenta.
Reteniamus. And so that happened 3 times.
Wow.
Yes.
What are the odds of that?
I don't know. I felt a bit cheated. Someone did say to me, if that happens to you once. So you have to have surgery to have it removed if it's there for an hour. And with my first child, they got it out like at 55 minutes.
Wow, I didn't
without having to have surgery.
That.
Sorry, it wasn't particularly pleasant.
No,
but,
I didn't know that. I had an injection.
Yes, I did too.
And to me, I had the injection and I saw the midwife sort of like have a little tug, test, and then, it came out. I don't even think I felt it coming out. My partner, right, Max was like, no, Rach, she was yanking that out of you. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, shit. it didn't feel like that way.
Happen.
Didn't see?
Yeah, in my brain. Yeah.
Crazy.
It is crazy. It's really fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so that happened, and then it happened again. My second one.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know. They got it out within the hour again, but with my third kid, I had a midwife who said, this never happens on my watch. Oh no, I'm going to massage your belly.
Thank you.
Afterwards. And this thing is going to come out whole. Don't you worry.
Okay.
And I was like,
thank you
great,
very much.
Thank you. Because, you know, I had this, when I was having my third child, I felt really scared because I thought, even though I was like really well versed in what I had to do, and obviously I'd enjoyed being a mother, I'd had these children very close together. So, you know, it would have been crazy if I hadn't been enjoying it and I pushed on, you know, but I just was like, I'm actually a bit nervous because what if I pushed my luck? Like, I've had 2 healthy children and no huge complications. What if this time everything goes terribly wrong? Like, I had this sudden awful, I don't know, just real fear that something was going to go wrong. So I started to get a little bit uptight. So that midwife saying that to me was really comforting, because I was like, oh, great. Because everyone was like, you're an old hand at this. And I was like, well, you know, I actually suddenly feel a little bit weirdly nervous about this one. But it didn't all come out. And at my 10-day check, they were like, you're a bit ill, aren't you? And I was like, yes, I am.
Wow.
And, you know, I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So they were like, I'd kind of pushed on.
Of course, yeah.
And I took him to the 10-day check. It wasn't even like they came to me at that point.
Yeah.
Which, again, I didn't really mind. I was all right, I thought. I just felt a bit... I think my sister says that there was a time when I just went, well, maybe that's just what I've done to myself. Like, maybe this is just what it's like. If you have 3 babies, maybe this is what happens. You break yourself ever so slightly, and this is it. You know, I sort of made up some kind of, oh, this is just how it should be. I'm going to have to suck it up thing, which was weird. I don't know why I was thinking like that. But it turns out, yeah, no, I had a bit left over in there. Pleasant, huh? So I had to be treated for that. It all came out eventually, but I mean, it was gross. It was horrible. Yeah,
really.
It was horrible. Yeah, we won't go into that. but
I mean, there's a grossness to. Well, I mean, is it gross?
It's your body, isn't it? It's your body. It's doing a phenomenal thing. I think your body's allowed to be a bit gross because it's doing something so mind-boggling, isn't it? What actually is happening in that 9 months?
I think I just gained and I learned so much about my body, and I just developed this newfound respect for what my body was able to do, what other women's bodies were doing, what my mum has done. When I think about my mum, sometimes I'm like, wow, we really disrespect mums. That mums are phenomenal creatures. Anyone who chooses to have a kid and is able to carry a child, it's insane. And then I entered into this space, which I often do. I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to women, sometimes like, I can't believe we are treated the way that we are. Sorry, all right, mini tangent or mini rant. Just in the sense of, whenever people kind of get into spaces of talking about equality or women's rights or this, whatever else, I just think when we just strip it back, just the mutual respect that we should have, I think. I can't believe, and I don't understand how it's missing or is lacking in certain situations. Whenever it pops up and you find yourself disrespected in a certain way, or the fact that you're a woman is used in a negative against you, to me, it blows my mind. It's like, do you not understand what it is that we do or what we're capable of doing if this is what we choose to do? Like, how could you speak to us in the ways that you do, or treat us in the ways that you do, or think that we're less than? That to me is insanity, because
it's kind of wild.
It's mad. I know that there are certain spaces or certain cultures where women are held differently or revered in a certain way. I'm not saying that we need to be. I mean, please put us on all the pedestals and give us all the stuff. That's
fine
great.
With
I'm very, very comfortable with that. I am. I'm just saying this to be bloody polite, to be honest with you. Because, we're the shit. What the fuck?
Don't hold back.
But it's just like, it blows my mind. And when I think about stuff that I may have said to my mum or how I've spoken to her or whatever else, like, how could I ever? Sorry. As much as I had that light bulb moment of like, my mum is phenomenal, I'm very sure I said something that pissed her off not too long after I had that brainwave, for sure. Yeah. But it's just, I can't believe that we're able to do these things and we're still held in a less than favourable light.
Ever. Yeah, I know.
Just anyway.
No, I know what you're saying. It's a kind of, it's like, but it's yeah, it's
yeah, that's rage rambling.
A very, very empowering thing to be able to, you know, have that happen to your body. Whatever the end result of that is, for us to be able to do that, and you know, it is a gift. Like it's a special power, and I think anyone who, of course, people don't have to use that special power, and some people are desperate to use that special power, and it's difficult, and I'm so hyper aware of that now, and correctly so, and I think, you know, it should not be taken for granted.
Yeah, that too.
That's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. This should not be taken for granted, like, you know, because it's kind of incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, really, really is. Yeah. And I just learnt a heck of a lot. I'm definitely that little nerd who will do all the research and like I want to know all the stuff. I know there's some like my I think I recall my partner's mum. She was saying that, you know what, to one extent she thinks there's just too much information out there now, or because you can kind of fall down rabbit holes, right, and keep digging and keep digging and
scare yourself. There's a lot you could read that could scare you.
Yeah, but I really am. I prefer having the too much than not. So I was like, no, but it's great. It's
probably quite sensible.
Because then I just know I can know all this stuff, and I know what my rights are, my access, and all that kinds of stuff. I use hypnobirthing a lot during my pregnancy, just to understand birth options, choices, what to do, and understand how much power you have in the situation. Yeah. By all means, pay attention to what your health professional is telling you, and make choices with them. Or whatever that's whatever suits you in your pregnancy, do that. But it was great to know that I can actually ask questions and push back, because I don't know what you're like when it comes to medical professionals. Sometimes I think what they say, you take what they say as gospel because they're in this position of authority. I pre this, I don't think I really thought about asking questions or pushing back if I needed to, but in this space I did. So hypnobirthing was great at just encouraging me to do my own research, but then also being able to teach me things that I didn't know or I wasn't aware of. For you, when you were having yours, was it easy to have access to birthing choices, options, things that you could or couldn't do? Or was it very much the case of pay attention to what your midwife has said or your obstetrician, and that's kind of it?
Yeah, I think so. An interesting, you've just sparked something actually in my memory there, that I went and saw a friend who had a baby like 3 weeks ahead of my first child. So like she just had this baby, and I remember going to see her, and she was doing that kind of, you know, sisterhood thing where she was like, this is going to be fine, you know, it's all going to be good. And it was all getting very real, and look at this little baby. And I looked at her pictures, and she had a cannula in the back of her hand. And I remember, because I have a bit of a phobia about that whole business, right? And I remember seeing it and going, what? Oh no, I'm not having anything. I'm not having anything, because I decided that my pain threshold was high enough, and that I can do everything on gas and air, because I don't want to have anything extra. Not because I was against it, but because I was scared of the other stuff, right?
Okay, all right.
So it wasn't like, it's no judgment. Anyone can have whatever they like.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you can't do that. No, I don't want to know about that. That sounds awful. I don't want any of those things. So when I saw that cannula back, I was like, oh, what was that? You said that you just did gas and air. Well, why you've got that? And she was like, oh, because I had strep B. And I was like, whoa, what is that? And she was like, oh, it's part of a trial. I think it's far more commonly talked about now. Yeah. But at the time, this was a new idea. And actually, the strep B, the reason why it wasn't really tested as regularly and why it was a hard thing to do was, I'm not a doctor, but that the notion is that we all could potentially have strep B living within our system at any given time, but it isn't all the time. So it could be that, but then it became proven that if you had strep B and your baby was going through the birth canal and those two things collided, it could have a really serious adverse effect on your baby's health and or its survival rates. So I heard about this at the time. Again, let's all medical check this. But and I was like, I think I better get checked for that because that scared me. And I did get checked for it, and it wasn't regularly checked for. So I did go to my GP and say, excuse me, knock, 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 Mr. GP, I've heard about this. A friend has told me about this. I've researched it a little bit. So I suppose I did get my little kind of act together just beforehand. And I was like, I don't like having to have anything like this, but I'm going to be tested for it because I guess that's me now nervous for my baby, my unborn child, and that, of course, that tends to override everything. And I went to the doctors and they went, yeah, you've got loads of strep B. You should definitely have antibiotics all throughout your pregnancy. Like, not throughout your pregnancy, throughout your birth.
There you go.
So I was on a drip throughout each birth because of that. And for that, I guess I'm very grateful that I found that out, because that could have had a terrible outcome
it could have.
For me and for my unborn children. You know, that could have had a terrible effect. So I went off and I asked about that, and I think I probably felt pretty vocal. I think Motherhood did that. I don't think I was ever so vocal before, but when but I didn't have any extra. I could have probably done with the hypnobirthing thing. I could have done with it because I was a bit stressed.
Tiny bit?
I was a bit stressed. I was a bit scared.
A bit scared. Okay.
It was a shame I was scared, though. You know, I could have maybe tried not to be as scared.
Yeah. But then again, you're doing something that, yes, childbirthing and all the rest of it has been done a million gajillion times before. I get it. But it's also new to you in the experience, in the moment. Yeah. So it makes sense that there's fear. Hypnobirthing was great at, I guess, just explaining the different stages to you, understanding what your birthing options and choices are, empowering you to make sure you can actually ask questions to of your obstetrician, your midwife, whatever else. Like, be comfortable doing that, and also when you're in the room, be comfortable knowing that you can ask for things. You can actually take a second and say, "No, I want to think about that." Making sure what your birthing plan was. So if you're in a space where you can't advocate for these things, your partner or whoever's in the room with you can, because this is what you've written down when you weren't as stressed or when you weren't in this heightened situation, etc. So it was great at making me feel empowered and that I had some sort of ownership in things. And it was great, I guess, for someone like me I am a bit of a planner. I think I like to pretend that I'm not, but I'm definitely a bit of a planner. So it was nice to feel like whatever I could control, I've controlled, and then the rest I've just got to let go and let that be. I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes at week 35 or 36. And I was like, oh man, I had this whole pregnancy fine.
So
and then suddenly I've got this. So obviously my eating and my diet had to change, or I had to be more stringent on certain things. But I knew that I didn't want to get induced at all, not for me. And understanding what the whole process was, I was like, you know what? Let my body do what it's designed to do. If I can't for whatever reason, then we can look at other options. But no. But after being diagnosed with gestational diabetes, had a meeting with an obstetrician who was very much, okay, you've got to be induced. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be. So we're having this conversation, and he's letting you know why. Obviously, the baby might get too big, and this and this and this, it might get stuck, and this is this. He did give the numbers of what it would be like. It was like 1 in, I forget the end of it, I'm going to say gajillion, but it wasn't gajillion. But the possibility of that happening was so small. However, I need to be aware of it. They need to make sure that their backs are covered. That's not how he said it, but that was essentially the point. You're getting induced. By the end of it, the head of midwifery was there, and she was like, look, you can book this in. If you don't want to do it, you can change your mind down the line, but you can grab the date. So I grabbed the date. I left the room, and my partner was like, I said to him, did I just get talked into something? He was like, well, yeah. So you didn't want to do this at all, but you've left the space with what they'd asked you to do. And then we talked it through. And I was like, I definitely don't want to be induced. I want to cancel it. It was a mission to cancel it because everybody it was almost like, well, no, you've committed to this. So that's it. But I didn't want to leave it and then not turn up because somebody else might have needed the spot. So I was like, okay, got to get it cancelled. Difficult. Then I had a meeting with a dietitian because of the GD, and they were like, well, fine. Like, if you're going to cancel it, then fine. But you know your baby could die. Are you prepared to take that gamble? And I'm sitting there looking at him like, what did you just say to me? And then I'm having to then reply with a, yes, I'm prepared to take that gamble, which to me was absolutely one of the scariest things ever, because I'm having to say then I'm happy to put my baby in this position, which is obviously not what you want to do. But it was very scary to push back at somebody that would be considered as an authority in this space for that moment. And then to get it cancelled was still a whole palaver, but we got it done in the end. But I was like, I can't believe you said that to me. And like,
it's quite brutal. It's quite brutal to speak like that, I think, to someone in that position.
That was mad.
Because there are so many, look, induction has to happen sometimes.
Yes, and sometimes it does.
And I
it's
think,
true.
what was I'm interested to know, like, because I hated the idea of that as well, and I nearly had to have it with my third child.
Okay.
But like 10 days late, I was walking around Tesco's going, look at this. This is never happening again. This is never happening again. Like the other two, like in the trolley, I was like, I'd gone from going, oh, this is so nice. Look at my cute babies. To
like, listen.
This is never happening to me again. Don't look at me. Stop feeling sorry for me. I know I'm grey. Oh, I was really struggling. Anyway, day 10, I'm booked in for an induction.
Yeah.
And he's like going to be a big chunky baby. Ended up being the tiniest little kid, but he came out a big chunky baby. Anyway, I went into labour naturally hours before I was meant to be induced. But I was so grateful that I never got to it. Now, what is it? Why are we scared of that? Because you were scared. You were so scared of it, or so against the thought that people were like hurling, like scary talk at you. Like, what is that about it? I don't know myself. Like,
I understand that sometimes that's just the route you're going to have to take. And I understand that, hey, some people might actually choose it. Not a problem. That's cool. When I read up on it or looked into it, I didn't like the invasiveness of it. Your body isn't ready yet. In this country, I think the ideal is for you to give birth, quote unquote, no later than say 40 weeks. But the whole gestational period of your pregnancy, I think, is 42. I think in other countries we go to 42 weeks. They go to 42 weeks. Sorry,
my last baby went 42. He was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take as long as I can.
I'm still cooking and it's warm and it's safe."
Fine.
So here it's 40 weeks. Elsewhere it's 42. And I was like, okay, cool. So they go in there, do a sweep to check it, to try and tear through the membranes to get your waters to break. But it might not be successful in the first try. So you might have to have a sweep a couple times. Cool. And even if that happens, also, it doesn't mean that your birthing process is going to start then and there. No. It might take a couple of days because, again, your body isn't ready. Cool. So if the sweep doesn't work, then there's another step. And then obviously, especially with hypnobirthing, it really does focus a lot on oxytocin and those hormones to kind of help your body be happy, safe, secure, etc. for the process to start. But because your body isn't ready, oxytocin doesn't start. So then you get given a synthetic version of that, which can then bring on your labour quite swiftly. So again, you don't really get that build up as your body would do.
That's right.
If it was to follow things naturally. Bearing in mind, mine didn't have a build up. I did everything in 4 hours, so I didn't have that at all. There you go.
Efficient. That's
efficient and intense.
Well done. So efficient. Right? She's like, no thanks, actually, because induction could take a week. And I happen to know
I'm coming in 4 hours.
that I'm gonna do this in a within a shift.
Of course. Literally within a shift. That's like one of my monsoon exercise shifts.
Gonna in and out within a shift.
My days. So it was kind of like, so one thing happens, that triggers another thing to happen, but it's like each way there was some kind of human, sounds weird to say it that way, but an intervention each way.
That's it.
So nothing about this felt, to me, it didn't feel, natural is not quite the right word I want to use. Oh, there we go. Nothing was organic about it. So, and also nothing about that sounded calm or stress-free because you're constantly being monitored and watched. If that doesn't work, then the next thing. Then does this gel work? Then does this work? So I was like, do you know what? I don't really want to put myself through that if I don't have to, especially if there's absolutely no reason and my body hasn't given any indication that it can't do this. Let me give myself the best shot possible. And if not, let me look into what the next step will be and then we can decide that.
Yeah, let's give it a minute. Let's give it
rather
a minute.
than,
let's take it.
Yeah, you're deciding, no, you're going to give birth today, or we're going to do this induction today, and that's what it is. And it kind of felt like you're trying to make your life easier rather than letting my body do my own stuff. So that's what that was.
It's like an invasion began. It's like it's like you were being held at gunpoint to make a decision there and then in that moment.
And that's what that felt like, which
is wild. Unless they have absolute, it's crucial that there and then that baby has to come out. I think that feels a bit of a. I think when you feel a bit bullied into something, that's a really bad way to be feeling.
And also, that was the only time I felt that way, because where I gave birth, the hospital, the people, everyone, phenomenal. These are the only 2 moments that I had, so I can speak on quote unquote negatively about it. But again, even though some of it was a bit of a sideways maneuver, I did feel comfortable, semi-fake it till make it confident to say my point about why I wasn't going to do this, or why, I was going to do this instead. So that was a bit of a learning, and also just being able to, stand in your truth of what it is that you want, and don't be afraid to do so. But inductions for me, it's not what I would choose. However, I understand if I needed to, absolutely, baby comes first, right? But it's just once they get poking in there, it's almost like they're not going to stop poking until the baby comes up.
Stop doing the poking. I had a sweep after before my daughter.
How's that?
I
was going to ask you, what's the most vivid memory of this whole birthing situation? I feel like it might be
Let me tell you a story. So my mum said, "Do you want me to come?" And I was like, "Do I?" And she was like, "If you want." Like, try not to say anything. Give me any feeling to be afraid or worried. So I was like, So I think my dad, I was very lucky. Like, my dad took my firstborn. It was just a little tot, and we went along, and my mum said, she said something like, like when they said, so we're going to have sweep and everything, she was like, my mum's a retired nurse, okay? So they're like the best and the worst, because they have seen everything. And although this wasn't her area of expertise, she also had 4 children of her own. So
there you go.
So they leave the room because they go, okay, we just got to go and I'm just going to tell the doctor you're ready and everything. So I'm lying there on the thing, and my mum says, it'll probably be, don't worry, just brace yourself, because it'll probably be some, old bloke who's going to come in and just have to get on with it. And do you know what? It's just business. She was trying to convince me. And also I wasn't, you know how sometimes someone plants a seed that you hadn't even thought of? And so my mum was saying, oh gosh, it probably would just be some old codger who does this every day, it's just part of his job. Don't get too in your head about this. He'll come in, boop boop boop, put in his hand and it's all going to be good. And I was saying it'll be fine, who cares, just another day at work.
Sure, whatever.
So in walks this guy, consultant, really charming, respectful, wonderful doctor, doing his job. Perfect. Not in any way, shape or form do I feel anything other than just this is just, I mean, this isn't particularly pleasant, but this is fine. And he says, I have someone who's training with me. Obviously there was also a midwife in the room, so I was completely, it was all fine. But oh my goodness, in walks, he looked like a sixth former, and I mean, I wasn't particularly old, so if I was thinking he looked like a sixth former, he must have looked really like a sixth former. And my mum was in the corner just sniggering. She started sniggering. She couldn't stop laughing. She couldn't stop laughing because then I had 2 quite, I don't know, young, perfectly pleasantly, not old codgers. Oh my God. But I do remember my mum sniggering in the corner, and the doctor, I remember him perching on the end of the bed and saying, this is a really awkward, horrible thing for you. I appreciate this. Because when you're not in the throes of labour, those things are quite I think something happens when you're in the throes of labour. It's what happens to your body, that it goes into, this is absolutely normal that my legs are spread and that I'm in this situation. And yes, you're vulnerable, but you are giving birth. You have a job to do. you know, it is labour, it is work. When you're not in that state and somebody has to do that kind of examination, it does something different in your brain, doesn't it? Because then you're like, well, where do you want me to put my head? Because this is so awkward and excruciating and like embarrassing. But he was really great because he actually really put me at ease. Okay. I'm going to go with the word ease. Let's go with that. But I think that, you know, I think that's probably a thing as well, isn't it? Like the induction thing, it's like, would you like me to force you to start having a baby? You're like, well, no, because our bodies are designed to do this. And of course, like to push this baby out, of course it needs help sometimes, but also.
I get it.
Yeah.
But can I just choose when I need the help, please? If that's okay, sir. Yeah. Good sir, please.
Is it possible? Please, thank you. Please and thank you. Sorry to bother you.
Yeah. So that was me. I was like, I'm not having an induction. It was so funny. But yeah, that was a tense moment in my moment. What was like your most vivid memory? I don't know if you want to put it as the sweep. Do you have a very vivid memory in either all your births or one particular, whatever, but a vivid memory during birth?
The vivid memory I had three very different pregnancies, and I had three. They all were similar in terms of I was able to continually be mobile, and I was pretty well throughout them, so that was fortunate. You know, I was very sick with my daughter, but I think, I mean, looking at scales of things, I think a lot of people have suffered a lot worse. But I was sick for about 20 weeks with her.
All right.
But then she was the easiest and most lovely birth. So, and she's like a little ray of sunshine. So I was like, oh, okay, I forgive you for this.
I love you and I forgive you.
But so they were all different. They were different in terms of timing, and they were different in terms of the actual journey out. Actually, I had to have my waters burst each time.
Okay.
And they came out in there. Well, they burst their waters as they came. Like, so that's what my kids do. It's just what my kids do. I don't know like what your kids do, but like my kids like to come out like in a splash. And then the placenta thing. So that was the same.
Okay.
So that must just be what my body does, and that was nothing to do with those individual kids. Who knows? Yeah. We're not going to go again to find out. That ship has well and truly set sail. So in those terms, it was quite similar. And then I guess my most vivid memory of giving birth, and I suppose this is carried across the three of them.
Yeah.
Is feeling the warmth of their little body.
Yeah.
On the inside of my leg.
Okay.
Because of having to be on the drip for Strep B, I had to be on my back. I probably didn't. I probably could have moved, but I was freaking out about the thing in my hand. And
I get you. Sorry,
and so I stayed very still.
So painful.
Yeah, I stayed very still because that was my own issues. People were probably saying, "You can move if you like," and I was going, "No, I need to keep my hand still."
Yeah.
So I was probably creating extra issues for myself there. But that feeling was something else like that, and that is still in my mind. And like I said, I have young adults, but that feeling of the warmth of their little sort of wet body coming out, hitting the inside of my leg it's just a gorgeous feeling. Wow. And I can remember that feeling very clearly.
I love that.
And it's just it's nothing. There's nothing like that would ever feel like that. And I that stayed in my mind very clearly.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the first time when I touched it. That was I think because I was on kind of like on my knees, upright but on my knees. I'm remembering holding the bed and on my knees.
Yeah, she's there.
Yeah, so I could see her. I saw her legs and arms first. That's what I could see, and then obviously I had to turn around, and then she was given to me, and then she was on my chest. Yeah. So I guess that was the first time I touched her, like held her, touched her. But that must have been so surreal, like feeling them on your leg. I was just, I hadn't forgotten about that, but I hadn't logged that in my head.
It's like a sensation rather than because I couldn't see them. It's just what I felt. I felt their presence. Yeah. Physically, like that little back or a little, like a little back or a little moving head. Like just, it's incredible, isn't it? And like I always get goosebumps thinking about it. And there wasn't anything hugely pretty about my births, but those moments were really, I guess, that moment of immediate feeling of bonding, which again is something I don't take for granted, because not everyone does feel like that. But that for me is very much my takeaway through all of the other bits and bobs that probably were trickier to juggle or anything else. That the birth thing that remains in my head.
That's nice. Thank you for sharing that. That's really lovely. How is all right, you're a mama 3 now. You're a creative. How did motherhood impact your creative work, creative process, mindset, all of that jazz?
Well, I practically I sort of had to bow out of work a bit in that respect. In the element of putting myself out there. I started to teach speech and drama. Okay. And I sort of set up my own business and did that for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. All throughout the time, I would have liked to have been more, I keep saying back out there, but do you know what I mean? Like actually putting myself out there as an actor, of course, being available and doing things. Yeah. I just found, well, first of all, I started to realise this is going really fast. And I took care of them. I had some assistance from my parents, but really it was me and them. My husband worked very long hours. It was kind of, I'd found myself in this sort of very traditional kind of situation, which was just our situation, you know. The nature of his work was that he was out very early and was back very late. And it was, we kind of tried to tweak that as time went on, but it was me and them. And initially I'd go to things with a baby in a buggy, and again, times have changed dramatically. I mean, even in the last 5 years, 10 years. So like 19 years ago, or 15 years ago, totally different space. People were kind of like, people can still probably go, what are you why have you brought a double buggy? But people we're encouraged to just actually see everyone as individuals and not judge every single person's decision that they've made, which is great, because I think that's wonderful. And there's so much more support, from Equity and other independent charities that look at how they can make things work for sort of artists and creatives within having children, which is great. And I'm very pleased that that's happening. But at the time, I felt like I had to do something that kind of worked around their school day. And so I sort of put things to one side, or I worked in evenings and I worked in weekends doing more creative stuff, whether that was performing as a singer but I wrote a lot as well. I wrote when they were asleep, and some of the things I'm working on now are things that I actually sowed the seeds of on notebooks and backs of envelopes.
That's really cool.
When they were napping, I just had a thought or a daydream. So, I think it impacted my career to the point, the career I'm doing now, it meant I had to think on my feet and change things up. I felt like I wanted to be making more consistent money, so having my own business gave me that sort of autonomy, but also I could still take them to school in the morning, I could still pick them up, predominantly most of the time it was me really that was doing that, and kids do all they do is just start doing more things. Just start doing more things, like, because then they might go to a dance class after school, and then all of that, you're like, that's a juggle, and it's still me, it's still on me doing that. And in my life it was me doing it, and I think a huge part of parenting and a huge part of not just being a mother, being a parent at all, is acceptance. And if you kind of accept where you're at, things are going to pass, and they're going to get older, and things are going to change, or you're going to come up with a solution. And you're all the time thinking on your feet, aren't you? Like juggling. And I did that juggle for the best part of 10, 12 years, until everyone could get themselves to school by themselves. Everyone could leave school by themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone, yes, there was still a rugby drop. There was still. It never stops. But it was I pressed pause, but that was I think it was more by. It was a choice I made. So I didn't feel robbed because I decided this is what I wanted to do. Yes, I would love to have had the both things happening all at once, but I accepted that maybe only I can have it a bit on the side. So it was like, I'll do this, what I'll call a day job, and I will allow the other thing to cook along on the side. But it did bubble along, and I did keep connections, and I did do as much as I could in the evenings. I think I was probably running myself into the ground, to be fair, because I was going, 24/7 all in.
Yeah.
And then, my weekends didn't look much like weekends because I was doing other work. And then I think it was, I feel like I wrung out their childhood dry. I had a great old time. I saw a lot of things. I was at school for nearly everything I could be when they needed me. And so I feel very fortunate that my plan worked out.
Nice.
That was what I wanted. I wanted that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I look back and there was probably other routes and other paths I could have taken in that time, but the one I took was the one I took.
Yeah.
Everything. And so I sort of pressed the pause on the things I really wanted to be doing. Allowed them to leak in until they started to flip, so that the day job started to become less and the other one started to, fortunately for me, kick off.
Perfect.
And that was really, I mean, gosh, how fortunate. I feel very lucky that kind of worked. Yes, I did work hard, but there still has to be a tremendous amount of luck in that for things to
just align in the right.
Things to align. Yeah, I mean, who knows what it is, but it to get to the point now where really I have 2 kids who are going off to university in September, and someone who's starting 6th form in September. There's people who drive, who I gave birth to. They drive, they can vote, they can, amongst them, this is adulthood is here-ish and, here.
Here and ish. One question I try to ask everyone is, I kind of find that once baby has arrived, every mom seems to start a new project. Did you start a new project? And did you start a new project per child?
I ran out of time when I had the other 2.
Okay.
But when I had my first baby, I did sign up to a creative writing course.
There we go.
I signed up to a creative writing course because I thought, gosh, I could write so much stuff, so many wonderful things. I could write a whole book. I could write a chapter. Every single night my baby goes down. Every time my baby goes for a nap.
Yes.
I mean, maybe I won't wash up. Maybe I just won't wash the dishes. I didn't have a dishwasher. Maybe I should just write a chapter of a book. Did that happen? No, it didn't. Did I pay a subscription to a creative writing course did I ever do anything other than attend maybe 2 of the sessions? No, I did not. So creative writing. Oh no, I've just forgotten a whole thing. I set up a baby gift business.
Oh,
actually.
did you?
Yeah, I just remembered. That's so weird. This is great. This is like you get taken back in time.
Exactly.
I'm seeing nappies.
Oh
They're made into a cake. I got gifted at a baby shower.
Yeah.
I've got just the best mates, and they threw me this baby shower. They threw me a baby shower for my first kid, and then I think they were like, "Oh girl, we're gonna have to do it each time." And they did. They honoured that, and which I'm very grateful for. So wonderful. Still very, very good friends of mine now. They're my drama school gang.
Love it.
And they, one of them gave me a nappy cake, which is like a cake that's tiered, that's made out of just nappies rolled up, basically. And this is as well, these are disposable nappies. and with all little baby stuff around it that was decorated to look like a cake. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
It's like a three-tiered cake. Anyway, and there was a bottle in the top. Anyway, I was like, I can do that. I took it apart. And I was like, I can do that. I can make one of these. So, I worked with one of the mums I'd met through the baby groups.
Yeah.
She was a marketer. We had some big contracts.
Did you?
But I made them all. So it was
How
so
incredible.
crazy. And so I did do that. I've just remembered. I've just got an image of me balancing these ridiculously big boxes on a double buggy as I went down the road to the post office. Yeah. So I've never really been able to sit very still. So yes, I did have a project. God,
there you go.
That all came to a bit of an abrupt end, but do you know what? It was probably a blessing in disguise because that was hard. That was hard work.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Just remembered.
Honestly, I'm just finding everyone started a new business. Every single mom I've spoken to, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Because me too. I've written a children's book. It's now being illustrated.
Wow, that's amazing.
I never in a million years saw myself doing that. I had no need, reason, want to do at all. But then I was with my little one and I was on my phone. I was playing with her, stopped on my phone, and she looked. This is the first time I'd actually seen her do this. I was on my phone. I could hear her trying to get my attention. I was like, oh, let me just finish the sentence, whatever else. And she actually put her hands on my shoulder and turned her face to me to kind of really get in my line of sight. It was the cutest thing I'd ever seen. But in the moment, I was like, oh my God, I'm so terrible. My kid had to fight for my attention. Oh my God, why?
Hi, Mum.
I know. I was like, how could I? And I was like, oh my gosh, but what's going to happen, in time to come when I'm busy doing this, and this? I don't ever want her to feel neglected or that I'm not thinking about her. And so it just spurred of this idea of me writing something. It was meant to be just for her that, like, mum loves you, mommy loves you. And I was like, oh my gosh, imagine how many parents or mums who feel this way or have these moments as well where they are pursuing the things that they are and they do have a worry or a thought that, shit, what if my kid doesn't feel as though I'm present or that I don't love them or I'm not paying them enough attention because I'm trying to do this thing for us. And that's kind of where the book idea kind of came to be, and off I went writing. So that's my new project. I'm glad I've finished the project. It's getting illustrated. And I am going to self-publish because publishing companies and me are not friends right now. But
no, they have no idea. They really need to get in on that.
Totally. Sorry, my hair's also stuck on the bloody wall. No, but it's just more like understanding in this day and age where things like social media numbers and that kinds of stuff is very important, because apparently the children's book, that area of writing is just filled or saturated with a lot of celebrity writers or influencer writers, that type of thing. So if your numbers, that's what I've been told, guys, if your numbers aren't raging and ridiculous, it's kind of like, well, can you really shift X amount of numbers that are needed in your book sales and stuff?
Gosh, that's interesting,
apparently,
isn't it?
That's what I've been told.
Wow.
So I'm like,
okay, not surprising, but yeah,
I will self-publish. So in any case, I'm glad that the project started. It's finished. It's now being painted in, and then off it goes. So yeah, that's my project.
So cool. I did not know
random.
that. That's really lovely
Stuff.
That's really
that should be funny.
So well done. So you finished your thing.
But
so
you started a whole business.
I did, but it was.
It may have come to an end, but it started and it went on, and you had big contracts, as you said. I love that it's making you crack up, though.
It's making me crack up because it's really funny. Because I can't believe I'd forgotten. And it was such a big deal, because I was like, I'd have to go and get the cake bases. Oh my goodness, I look. It was good. It was a time. It was a time.
There you go.
I was so in the zone.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Is what is that about wanting to start new things? It's trying to keep a hold of your life. It's trying to keep the reins on your life. You want to be like, I want to. I think we kind of want to be everything, and we know we can't. Not everyone can be everything all of the time. It's actually impossible. But it's that feeling of, don't you forget me. I might be over here breastfeeding this baby,
but I can.
But oh boy, can you see? Do you see how much money I can make? Do you see how I can do this? You see how my brain is still really sharp. It's that. I'm still on it, and I'm still here, and I'm still present in the world. I think that's what it is, isn't it? That burning desire. Oh, and of course, the reality is that people have to just go back to work as well. People have to earn some money, and that whole thing. I don't know who said this quote, but it's that thing where they say, someone says, I've seen it quoted, you have to be at work like you don't have children, and you have to bring up children like you don't have a job.
Okay.
So it's like
one. I get it.
It's like as a parent, as a mother, you know, that need, you know, that there's that pressure on you within a workplace to actually leave all of that at the door, which we know as mothers is an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Yeah, sorry, not impossible. It is difficult. It's true.
It is hard, and I think I used to I sort of describe my kids getting older as when they were little, they were here, like my hand is in front of my face, like whatever I was trying to do, I had to like look around them because their presence in my mind was right there, screamingly in my sort of face planting.
Yeah.
And as they got older, it's not that went away, it's that the hand just moves slowly up your head, and so that they start to just be always there, but maybe they're just on the side now.
Got you.
Like, so you can see really clearly, and there's more and more clarity, and they might pop into your vision because there's something going on with them and you're worried about them.
Okay.
But as they grow in age and independence, that vision becomes, I think, clearer. But that takes a long time to happen. And I think, you know, there's a huge amount of pressure for us as mothers to go, can you stop thinking about your child for a second? Because I'm talking to you about these figures or this...
Or whatever the thing might be.
You know, this till that you've got to, operate or whatever job you're doing, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Which is
it's
why...
a lot.
Yeah, it is. I'm super grateful for being able to work in a space where they try to incorporate your childcare or your needs to make sure you can still function as the parent that you want to be in the way that they can manage. So I think that's definitely something I'm grateful for, because I didn't know how this space was going to work. I didn't know what it would look like being a self-employed individual, being a creative and raising a child in the way that I would want to raise my kid. And my partner's also a creative. I didn't know what it would look like. I knew it was going to happen and I knew it was going to work, and I knew what I was going to ask for, but I didn't know if I would get a yes at the end of it. So from my agents, how how accommodating they've been, to casting, to to productions, I've been pleasantly surprised each way. And I love that how everyone's trying to make this a norm in some way, shape or possible. And I know it might not be possible for everyone or every production, whatever, but the fact that you're breastfeeding, okay, we can create this space or have this in mind or give you these hours or whatever else. That's been incredible. So long may it continue, or
good.
Let me use it how I can.
Good. I mean, it's just right, isn't it? It's just right. Yeah. This is inclusivity. This is everyone, regardless of their situation, should have equal opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's it. That goes for, if you have to then, have a small person.
Yeah, a small person who's like,
small person on your back.
Not going anywhere. And that's it. Yeah. Is it possible to say, do you have a biggest love, a biggest takeaway, and have you had a bigger struggle? What would you say? That was a terribly poor constructed sentence.
That's a lot there.
Or even if you want to pick one from that, do you have a biggest love, biggest takeaway, biggest struggle from all things motherhood? That's terrible. Honestly, sometimes when I speak English, it's very questionable.
It's no. I hear you. I understand. It's just a lot. It's a lot to think about. That's my pausing. I'm not thinking she needs to make a better question.
Just a clearer sentence.
I mean, if you think you need to make a new question.
Sometimes I do, but I'm like, no, Rachel's what we said. We're going to run with it.
I suppose, it's a three. So struggle, love,
takeaway, struggle, takeaway, love, in whichever order you want to do. Yeah.
I think the biggest struggle is the very thing that I said is probably the most important thing, which is to just accept situations as they are, because sometimes you need to just accept. Yes, there's things that need to change sometimes in your life, but as a mother, sometimes you just need to accept. And when you accept, you give it over. You don't stress. My baby is now in my bed. Tonight we will sleep like this.
Yeah.
Or they've been sent home from school. I've got to go and get them. It means I've missed X, Y, and Z. Let it go.
That's good advice.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Because there's very little you can do about these things.
Yeah.
So I think acceptance, learning to accept that is a struggle, but also probably a great takeaway.
Yeah.
Because it's not always easy to do.
Yeah,
and also, you know, to be like, oh, why can't you pull your weight more to your partner? Or if you've not got a partner, I mean, you know, the person you might rely on, a friend, you know, it's all a little bit out of your control, isn't those things? So you just have to let it go. Because they're separate entities, aren't they, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Once you've had them, and then off they go.
Yeah.
And all sorts of things can happen, and you have to just ride their wave with them, for them, and you know, you have to accept whatever stage you're at. That's a takeaway, and it's a struggle. It's a takeaway, and it's a struggle. Relinquishing control, because we can't always have control. But then the greatest love and joy is to see sort of the fruits of your labour. Like, you know, it sounds a bit, look, I worked really hard on bringing up my kids. And I punch the air when, forget whether they get a good grade or not at school. If they do, they do. They're all wired differently.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
So I don't really that's great. But I always wanted my kids to be the ones that someone wanted to have as their child's friend. The kid that someone would like to have round for dinner at their house. Yeah. The kid that is polite and kind. And so when my children act with kindness and consideration, when I see their emotional intelligence and all of those things, the things that schools don't teach children. Got you. When you see those things that you know must have had something to do with something you did at some point, right? That feels so incredible. And that the love for me is to see them becoming their own individual selves. That's incredible. With that lump that you threw in there, mixed with what they brought to the world themselves, because they're all just individuals, aren't they? That's my greatest love and my greatest joy, and will probably, hopefully, you know, forever will be the case as long as I'm here to see whatever paths they take. Because it's just a wonderful thing. See those little tiny hands that you've got now. These little tiny hands become like, you know, man hands on a steering wheel, or you know, like sort of like taking you, drop you at the station and being like, do you want me to come and pick you up? Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, man child. Oh wow. You know, and to have those conversations and to hear them assessing life in a way that makes me feel proud. They're my greatest joys, I think. That's awesome. Yeah, and that can only happen in time as they get older. But it's those little pops of a little bit of pride. You know, you go, oh, they're my children. That feels nice. Oh, amazing. Well, on that incredibly wonderful note, I think we'll call it. Thank you so much for having me to sit and talk about my pride and joys. No, absolutely. Honestly, no, I've also learned so much. And I have to say, doing this podcast, I'm just loving the things, the tips and the information and all the stuff that I'm getting from this, because I'm finding it so helpful and so useful. So I'm hoping to everyone who's listening that you're getting something and some takeaways and stuff from what people are sharing, the stories that are being told. So thank you so much. I think this is a wonderful thing you're doing as well, because you know, like, we all know this, right? But if you're asking yourself, am I being a good mother? You're being a good mother. Like, if you realize and understand, like, this will take some work. I will have to grow. I am going to have to, you know, grow and learn and be open to learning about things. Then of course you're going to be a good mother. Like, everyone's got their own relationship with their own kids. Yeah, that's true. It's so, I'm excited for you. Yeah. I'm excited. You're at the start of this journey. You're a year in, level 1. No, level 1 completed. Woo! Boop, boop, What's next? She's now starting to walk. She took a couple of steps on her birthday.
and hasn't taken any more. And I feel like you're just teasing me. And she said a few words, like clear words with intention.
Nice.
And when you ask her to say again, she just like giggles at you, like, I'm not gonna do it because you asked me to.
Don't be ridiculous.
Silly. So it's now I'm locked in for level 2. So I'm excited to see what's gonna unfold.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Eliza.
Lovely.
Hey loves, before we sign off, just a quick note to remind you that everything shared on this episode is based on personal research and personal experiences, lived experiences. I hope we were able to give you some food for thought, but please make sure you conduct your own research and speak to your healthcare professional if you have any questions or concerns. Okay, with love, catch you on the next one.